Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 11 of We Shall Talk. Today, I have a very special guest with me. I am so excited to share my interview with Jennifer Iacopelli, author of your favorite sports romance novels. She is here to talk about her new book that's coming out on June 9th, Wildcard, right up here. It's the second of the Match Point series, and we talk about all of the juicy details from that book. And we also dive into the massive success of Finding Her Edge, which is now streaming on Netflix, and it is based on her book from the same title. And just a warning that there will be some spoilers, light spoilers, on the book Wildcard. Nothing gives away the plot too much, but we do get into a little bit of like the spicier details or the more lighthearted moments. But we chat about the story, and truly this book is so fantastic. It really picks up where we left off in the first book, and it follows three female protagonists. I love how she explains that she writes about ambitious women and the men who love them for it. Like, please, more of that. And we talk about, how we've got three professional athletes in the same realm of the sport of tennis, but they kind of find themselves at different stages of their career. And we talk about, the conflicts and the problems that arise when you mix sport, competition with friendship and also love. So there is a lot of drama, of excitement, of close proximity, which is a trope that we love. So there's a lot of excitement and edge of your seat moments in this book. And truly, it is a page turner, to be sure. You will not want to miss this book, and you won't want to miss this interview. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Jennifer Iacopelli. Let's start from the beginning. Like, all of your books have been really resonating with readers, for a while now, and even getting like adaptations on screen. So, can you just walk me through like what really brought you into this world and, starting to write? Do you recall when you were like, this is what I want to do?
Yeah, it's very funny. It's unemployment. Unemployment got me, which is not an uncommon thing. The longer I'm in this, the longer it's like, okay, so for those people who do not remember, right around 2008, we entered into a financial crisis. And so everything old is new again. But we went into a financial crisis in 2008. I'm a public employee, so I'm a high school librarian in my day job. And it took a minute before that financial issue kind of reached the public sector. So I was a high school librarian in 2011, when it sort of all kind of trickled down to us. With the one thing things do trickle down to is negative impacts. And we got there and I lost my job. And I was in my 20s and I thought, this is it. Life's over. I will never be successful. I will never accomplish it. The catastrophe of you've lost your first big girl job, basically. And there were not even jobs to apply for at the time, if anyone remembers. It was like there was literally nothing. Unemployment was more money than I could make waitressing. Like there was just nothing. And so I was still living with my parents. I was that level of baby adult.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I've always written. I've always been a person that writes stories, has a story in my head, wants to get it down. I wrote a lot of fan fiction, a lot of really bad fan fiction, and some pretty good fan fiction. And this was sort of on the swing where I realized the fanfic that I was writing to a fandom that will not be named, was resonating with people. It was getting reviews and getting comments and kudos from people who didn't even take in the source material. Like their friends were recommending like, "Hey, you should read this." And they were like, "Well, I hadn't seen that." And they were like, "Doesn't matter. Just read the story." And I thought, maybe I'm good at this. Like maybe my life isn't over as I know it. Maybe there's something else that out there for me. And so I took about a year, about a school year. It was September. And I said, I'm gonna try to write a book. And about 9 months later, I joke it was like my book baby. It was literally 9 months later. I had a finished manuscript. It was Game Set Match, but which was re-released earlier this year. And I thought, let me try. And in the interim, I was still looking for a real job, let's say it
Right.
like that.
Mhm.
And I had found one. So now I had this book that I was like, I don't know what to do with it. I don't know where do I even start? So I was starting my brand new job again as a high school librarian. I'm at a new school. And I literally Googled like how to get published
Oh,
because I had no
God.
idea. I was like
Yeah.
26. And it was, the mid to late 2000s, so it wasn't super common knowledge, especially not for someone like me who had never tried before. And that was it. It was I got an agent, got a book deal with a very, very small digital only publisher, which was not still right now it's not a thing. It was starting to sort of be a thing then.
Yeah.
And then very quickly became not a thing. The publisher closed a couple years later. Um, and then yeah, I've been just doing it ever since. I've been writing and getting the stories down. I've accidentally stumbled into a brand. Definitely didn't do it on purpose, but I write about ambitious girls with big dreams and the love that they find along the way. And can you have both? And yes, in my books you can.
Yes. Which I love. That is such a cool story. And honestly, I feel like the whole like losing your job aspect of things is so relevant, especially right now.
Yeah.
I lost my job a few months ago, and
No.
like that's why, and I thought it was my dream job, but it just allowed me to like get into this creative world that I've kind of been putting off. So like good things can happen when you feel like your world is like ending.
Right, there's opportunities. There's still
Mhm.
chances for you to go and do the things that you wanna do, and I'm doing both now. Like, I had my dream job, and I thought that was it, like, "Oh my gosh, I lost my dream job." And I found another one and a whole 'nother dream on top of you just never know. You never know when the thing that thinks you think, "Oh gosh, this is it. It's the worst thing that could possibly happen." None of this would have happened if I hadn't lost that job. So,
Exactly.
you know.
Yeah, totally meant to be. And like speaking of ambitious women, right? Like you went for it.
I did. Well, you know what it was? It's I would like to take credit for it, but it was really a situation where like I had nothing to lose. I just do two full-time jobs. But at the time I was like, well, if I'm going to try it, why not try it when I have this chance?
Yeah.
Um and then it was just sheer audacity. I was actually at a book festival a couple weeks ago and I was being interviewed with people that I would never have dreamed even to be sitting in the same room with. I was sitting next to Veronica Roth and Kathleen Glasgow, who are
Yeah.
icons in this
Yeah.
industry. And Veronica used a really cool term when she was talking about the start of her career, which was audacity. Like just having the sheer audacity to go out and try. And sometimes you don't know better, and sometimes it's just like, "No, I'm good enough, and I'm gonna be good enough, and if they think I'm not, well, they're wrong, and I'm just gonna keep trying." And yeah, having that audacity to just go out and do it.
Yeah, that's amazing. I really love that word actually, the audacity. And I feel like there's a lot of, that in like the leading ladies in your books, which I would love to get to in a second though. But I really
Sure.
thought what you were talking about was really interesting about like fanfics. Um,
Yeah.
it used to be such an obscure kind of world where like if you
If you
knew,
know,
you
you
knew.
know, and if you don't tell anybody. It's like Fight
Exactly.
Club without even like, we don't talk about Fight Club. Everyone already knew. You just don't you didn't need a rule. You just didn't
Yeah.
talk about it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. That's what it used to be, but now it's like it's so prominent. So do you feel like, the maybe subjects and taboos that used to be in, the fanfic world, do you think that that's coming into like mainstream now? And
For sure. For
yeah.
sure. I think it's twofold. I think it's a little bit fanfic. I think what started it though was the indie publishing boom. I think creators who are out there who are being told by traditional publishing, "Hey, either there's no room in the market for this or we don't know what the market is for this," said kind of like what baby author me said, which is like, "Oh, you don't think this is a market? Let me show you. There is a market for it." And it really is true. And fanfic is like the purest form of that. Fanfic is there's a market for something that I'm not even going to bother charging people for because I'm going to do it out of the sheer love or frustration or pure creativity that I have, and I want to get this thing out there. So it's I think it's twofold, where you have these two different, but I feel like parallel sort of worlds where people are out there proving that there is a market for the stuff that they're creating. I personally love it. I still write fanfic. You will not no one will find it. It's very, very secret. And I still read it because it's my comfort space. It's the space where I go to where I know I'm gonna get exactly what I'm looking for. Because AO3 has a beautiful tagging system that tells me everything about the fic before I even click on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that we're definitely seeing um, traditional publishing's not necessarily the most agile industry. I think it timelines are very long. It takes a while to get something out. They are brick and mortar publishing houses still. And a lot of them, some people are going to the office every single day. And like it's old school. So being able to, for them at least, to see that there is a way for them to tap into a market that wasn't otherwise accessible to them is really interesting, and I'm fascinated to see where it goes in the next couple of years because I think we're just sort of at the beginning of it, particularly with the fanfic. I think with the fanfic, it's really at the beginning, and I'm waiting for the very first, and like I don't even know if I want to speak this into existence, but I'm sure it's going to happen. The very first, and I'm seeing heated rivalry books behind you. The very first heated rivalry fanfic that turns into a trad pub book. I'm waiting for that to happen, and I know it's going to because there's so many amazing creators in that fandom, and it's
Yeah.
so huge that
Yeah.
I know it's gonna happen, and I'm ready for it. I can't wait.
Yeah, let's go. I totally second that. And it's really interesting too because I'm kind of glad that you actually brought up heated rivalry because I feel like sometimes things really pick up pace because of like the virality of things. Like things are really,
Yeah.
like it was heated rivalry and then it was the Olympics and it's sports romance and then we kind of found ourselves all in on Finding Her Edge on Netflix, right?
Yeah.
And that kind of like snowballed this whole like I need more of it. And we just the speed in which we can get things out sometimes is really slow, but if the timing works out and we can really like give that sort of escapism in what's, trending right now, it's like it's exciting and you kind of just want to jump into it. So can you tell me a little bit about, you know, the excitement that came with Finding Her Edge being on Netflix and that whole process for you?
That was a long process. It's funny because everyone was like, "Oh, wow," like, I feel like I'm chalking so much of what happens in the last 15 years of my career to luck, but a lot of it is luck. I mean, you have to do the thing. You still have to go out and be tenacious and be audacious and all those good things and stick to it, but sometimes it's just timing. So Finding Her Edge got optioned in 2022. So it's been a minute now.
Yeah.
We were in development for a little while. We were with one production company, then we were with a different production company, same team, just different production companies. And when we pitched it, our showrunner, our incredible showrunner and head writer, Jeff Norton and Shelley Scarro, when they pitched the pilot episode to Netflix, they were basically like, if you greenlight us today, we will have a figure skating show for you when the Olympics happen. Like that, and it was literally that conversation. Like, if you let us do this right now, we will have a show ready to go right before the Olympic Games. And Netflix saw the vision, and I like it
Yeah.
made so much sense.
Yeah.
Because they had both. They had us, and then they had Glitter and Gold, which was the ice dancing documentary series,
Mhm.
which had our wonderful Piper and Paul in it. So it felt like I was like, oh my God, it's just life imitating art, imitating life. It was so amazing.
Yeah.
And then we just had all the luck in the world with heated rivalry just exploding. Right. But like, 'cause we were filming at the same time. Our shows were basically in parallel with each other. We actually have a crossover actor, Aidan Shaw, who plays Weston on our show. I don't remember the name of his character on Heated Revelry. It's a very small role, but we
Yeah.
were like, "Oh, you did both. You did both Canadian yearning TV shows. Very
Yeah.
different content,
But
but you somehow managed that crossover, which is hilarious." And he was a
yeah.
hockey player in both because he's an incredible skater.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it was just a lot of really hard work that came down to amazing timing on the other side of it. And some of that timing was purposeful, like I said, and some of it was like you can't predict something exploding. You can't predict, and I don't even think, I mean, I haven't talked to Jacob or Rachel, but I can't think they would have predicted this level of, sheer covering of the zeitgeist at this point. They are the biggest stars in the world. They are the biggest show in the world. And for us, it was like, oh, really good timing. And like, if your kids can't watch Heated Rivalry, because they can't,
Yeah.
they can watch our show.
Yeah. Hey, look at that.
We do Yearning, we do Canadian TV, just at the TV PG level.
Perfect.
And yeah, it was very, very cool to sort of watch everybody's stars rise at the same time. And I'll be honest, I don't even know if I would have been able to handle that level of success, that just absolute
Yeah.
explosion. And it
Yeah.
was funny because Madeline Keys, who plays Adriana in our show, ran into Connor Story in Florida. I was in Florida. She ran into him in California.
Yeah.
And he was like, "I know you." And she was like, "I know you." And they were both like, "How are you handling this?" And it was like one day at a time.
How else are you gonna
Just
do it, right?
one day at a time.
Yeah.
Stick around with the people who knew you beforehand, that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's been absolute insanity.
That's incredible. What an incredible story. And again, like alter like just the universe timing of it all. It's
Yeah.
incredible to see.
I've become a little bit more woo-woo and a little
Yeah.
bit more like granola crunchy, like, "Oh, the universe," like, I was never that person. I am
Yeah.
like down to earth New Yorker, that's all crap, like, no way, and in my head, I'm like, "Well, maybe there's something to it, I don't know." It
Maybe.
feels like maybe the universe has been telling us something.
Yeah, yeah. Just trust the powers that be, I guess.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Well, let's talk about your new book that's coming out on June
Yes,
9th called
yes.
Wildcard. I just finished it. And
Did
I have
you?
chills. I have chills just even saying that I finished it because I absolutely adored it.
Oh,
It
good,
was
I'm glad.
so fantastic. And what I love, like from the get-go, is that we've got three main girls at the top of, their game respectively, and
Yep.
we just dove right into it. So, did you always have it in the back of your mind that you wanted to kind of highlight these three athletes, three women athletes, or did it kind of just happen, as you were brainstorming? Like, what was the process?
A lot of it comes from, I mean, now remember, these are, Wild Card and its book that comes before it in book 1 of the Match Point series, Games That Match. Those were my first books. So I'm gonna give credit and also a little blame to baby writer me, because I didn't know any better. I started writing those in 2011, and the story came to me as, actually, funnily enough, it came to me as 4 protagonists, and even baby writer me was like, "That's too many." You can't, that's too many girls. So I was like, okay, sort of took a little bit of one and a little bit of the other and made them into one character. And that ended up being Jasmine, who hopefully maybe one day Jasmine gets her own little love story, but that's a
Mhm.
little spoilery. So it came to me sort of that way. And again, not knowing any better, how hard could it be to write from 3 separate points of view? Very hard, in case anyone's wondering, really, really difficult. But I managed it. And I remember thinking, like, oh, I love all 3 of them. I can't possibly just tell the story from one point of view. Their lives are so intertwined, and their loves and their friendships are so entangled with one another. It would be silly to try to separate it out. And the stories that I always imagined for them kind of took place over the course of what hopefully will be 3 Grand Slam championships, and I was like, "Well, that's great, 1 for each book." So instead of, you know, a protagonist for each book, I have a tennis Grand Slam for each book, and everyone's story sort of gets tied together in each city that they end up in.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that was sort of the birth of it, and I always knew, like, I wanted to start in France, move to London in Wildcard, where we get to go to Wimbledon, and then hopefully maybe one day end up at the US Open, crossing our fingers. If everyone reads it, we'll
Yeah.
get there.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Here's hoping because I need more of it and I'm a big fan of London. So like the Wimbledon of it all and having them, travel to London, having, Alex be from the UK and like all of these like amazing like little bits and pieces that kind of come together when they get to London is just it's all really exciting to read and like it's such a page turner. Like I'm constantly like,
Yeah.
okay, I need to know what's next. Where's it going? And it's just like right at the moment where you're like things are getting heated in one storyline, it's another chapter and we're changing the point of view and it's like,
Sorry. You
no.
have to keep going. But I will
Yeah.
say I did make an effort, and I think you do get a little hint of what's gonna come next for that thing, usually in the next point of view, but you have to read closely to get that hint. But again, because again, our stories are all intertwined. So maybe like a conversation that was going on in one suddenly is getting referenced in the next section, and you're like, "Oh, that's what happened. Okay, that's their
Yeah.
perspective." So it's
Yeah.
been fun.
Yeah, mastermind, I love it. What I really love though in the idea of like wild card is like it feels like in their own way each protagonist is a wild card in their situation. Like you're just giving them a chance to prove themselves in their own right.
Yeah.
And I love how they're like in different stages of their career, but like just striving for more. So did you intentionally like write it that way so that you could have different perspective of like the athlete's life and like where they would find themselves and
Yes.
wanting more, even, with like Penny being at the top, giving her this kind of like situation with her ankle, like, there's always going to be something. So was that
Yes.
intentional? Yeah.
So, yeah, I've been a sports fan my whole life. So, if you couldn't tell. Everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, there's so much sports in your sports romance." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. That's,
Go figure,
that's my
yeah.
vibe." Yeah, that's my vibe. That's what I do. But I always knew, like, every professional athlete, at the end of the day, if you, like, boil it down to it, it's their job. And every single job has people working at different levels, working in different, slightly different departments, who their strengths and weaknesses are slightly different. They just don't always like go head to head. Like the marketing publicity team at a company don't like actually face down in a meeting and, and be like, who's going to get the chance to promote this thing? Um, but it felt very natural to have them not necessarily all be at the same level. It made sense to me on just an instinctive level where it's like, no, every professional athlete is a little bit different. I think tennis specifically lended itself to that. We've seen in the last few years on both the men's and women's side where you have people sort of separating themselves out from the crowd. It doesn't make them invincible. It does they play too much to be invincible, but it's just natural to the sport where you've sort of got these top people, and then you've got the people just kind of hovering underneath them that are kind of nipping at their heels because they have a big target on their back. Like that's the big dog. We're all chasing them.
Hmm.
And then you have because tennis is a global sport, you're not just competing against the best in the country, you're competing against the best in the world. So for, Indy and Jasmine specifically, Penny's sort of at the top of her game and she's established herself there and now she kind of has to stay there, which is really hard. Maybe harder even than getting there. But for Indy and Jasmine, I wanted their plot lines to be, okay, how do you get there? And I didn't want all three of them doing that. That's too much. So I was like, okay, we got to get one up there
Hmm.
that they're chasing, and then the other two. And then what do those pathways look like? And nowadays, for an athlete, you have a couple of different options. If you go to college, you can still make money. You can still be sort of semi-professional. And in tennis, that was always sort of looked down upon as like, oh no, that's not really what you want to be doing if you want to, be serious. When I was growing up, the top female tennis players, especially, were in their teens. And that wasn't that long ago. It was, Jennifer Capriati and Martina Navratilova, they all came up at like 15, 16 years old. And so it was kind of like, "Oh, no, you don't go to college, you just go play." Um, and so having those opportunities to sort of portray all of the different variables and all the different ways that this dream can come true was kind of fun, and I felt like it made a lot of sense to be like, your dream doesn't have to look like exactly what you imagined it to be for it to have come true. Like, Indy starts book 1 and she's no one has heard of her, and by no spoilers, but by the end of book 2, she's she's doing the thing. She's she's right there, right? And,
Hmm.
hopefully if we get to book 3, I can finish that storyline. And for Jasmine, she's struggling and struggling. She's the daughter of 2 tennis champions, and everyone, especially her, expects herself to be able to do the thing, and it's a real struggle for her. So I really love being able to portray the different pathways in which your dream can come true, and I think having those 3 protagonists really allows me to.
Yeah, and I love how, there's the added complication then of like their friendships.
Yeah.
And then their romantic relationships with like the sibling. And there is a
Yeah.
lot of layer of like complications, but I feel like that makes it really compelling and real because there's such an interesting like perspective with professional athletes where you need to get to like this mentality where there's the job you have to do and then there's your friends and they have to stay separate, but
Yeah.
it gets a little bit messy, especially when Indy gets her Wildcard to Wimbledon, and she has
Yes.
to essentially break up with Jasmine
She
and
has to make a choice. Yeah, she can't do both, and it's
yeah,
I mean, and the sort of heartbreaking thing about that is if it was maybe even a year later, she would be at the level where she could be like, "Absolutely, I can handle both, and we'll see what happens." In this situation, this very specific situation she finds herself in, she's like, I have to prioritize myself. I'm so sorry." And because of the way Jasmine's career is sort of laid out, it completely decimates all of her goals for this, this one tournament. So it was really fun. And I feel like it also kind of mirrors real life. Like your coworkers become the people you see the most for the most part. They become, you know, they're not necessarily they can be your friends, but they don't have to be your friends, and you can just be a professional and be, like, sort of, colleagues, but at the same time, you spend most of your time with them. You want to have good relationships with these people, so it becomes really complicated and really hard, and it becomes really juicy to write because it creates these natural conflicts where everyone doesn't always get along, and that's actually what's supposed to be happening. So it's just it was really fun. And then I got to play with all kinds of really fun tropes there too with the romance because you've got like, okay, the bad boy for Penny because she's such a goody. And I would not say goody goody, but she's so like on the straight and narrow. She needs somebody to loosen her up. And then you've got, my brand new best friend's brother, and then you've got my best friend who also is a brother of one of my friends, but, like, they're not really that close, but, like, who decides he thinks we're better off as friends. So there's just so many fun romance tropes, and I
yeah,
it's like a love triangle of doom. Like, it's just a
yeah.
flow chart really more than a I found maybe I found another brand because I tend to do that in all
Maybe.
my books,
Yeah,
is that there's, like Finding Her Edge had one, it was like a disaster of a love flow chart, and now I feel like my tennis books have them too.
yeah, and now you just put them all in the same house for, like, 2 weeks. So,
Force proximity,
yay!
yay!
Nothing could go wrong.
What could possibly go wrong? Are people walking in on people? Are people like, "Oh god, I didn't wanna see that." Maybe a little bit.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think low key my favorite part was when and this is before everybody arrives, but when
Yeah.
Alex's mom just walks in on him and oh my god, I was like,
And it's not even that like, that spoilers, guys, but it's not even that scandalous. She's
yeah,
just so embarrassed because she's so
yeah,
like, "I would never put myself in a situation like this except for this dude that I can't stay away from."
why not?
Despite myself. Yeah, like, and
Yeah,
it's just and his mom's so sweet too. I love his mom, and
so
she was a fun character to write. But
yeah,
yeah, she's so embarrassed, and there's nothing you can do. She
no,
your boyfriend's mom walked in on you in
yeah,
his house.
in his house,
To
like,
be fair, she probably should have knocked, but,
yeah,
like,
and truly, that's it. She should have knocked.
she should have knocked. But at the same time, like, she's used to coming and she's not used to him having a girlfriend. She's used to him
Mhm,
just hooking up with people and, like, never bringing them home. She didn't think
mhm.
anyway.
Oh my god,
Anyway,
it's
you have
so
to read
fun.
to find out and read to have the secondhand embarrassment, the poor Penny.
Exactly, exactly. I still have it, I still have it. But it's funny too, like, I can't wait to, like, make, like, a highlight of this and, like, 0 context. People are gonna be like, "Oh my god, I gotta read this book."
What happens in this book? My god.
You gotta read it to find out.
Yup.
But, no, yeah, honestly, it was so, so great to read, and I just yeah, I think I read it, in 48 hours, like, literally
Wow. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
like, I was in it to win it.
You were locked in.
Yeah, and I don't know much about tennis. So like I felt like I learned a lot because like
Good.
like you said, you are a sports fan, so you're doing research and you're obviously making sure that everything is so accurate. So I appreciate that because yeah, I learned
Thank
a lot.
you. Thank you. It was I'm not gonna lie, it's a balance between making sure somebody who has absolutely no I mean, like, people generally know, like, ball goes over net, like, that they got and, like, "Oh, you missed the ball, bad." Like, that's generally what people come to this with.
Yeah,
So you have to kind of, like, spoon feed it a little bit and be like, "Okay, she hit the ball hard. Hard seems hard to hit back." Like, that kinda stuff. And then at the same time, sort of feed in, like, so you could probably watch a tennis match now and know what's going on, that kind of thing. I wanna get people to that point by the end
I
of the
feel like
book.
I could. I
Where if you
really
tuned in, you'd be like, "Oh, I know what that means."
yeah. Look at that
I know why they're
backhand.
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you think though is making like sport romance such a big thing right now because, like we said earlier, there's heated rivalry and like a lot of your books have like that sports element and they're doing so
Mhm.
well. Like, what do you think it is? Like, what's the secret ingredient in sports that people just need the romance attached to it too?
I feel like for me at least, this is why I came to it, and I think it probably is true for other people. Sports are inherently narrative. They are stories. It might not be a very good story. Like you might watch a game and you're like, "Oh, this is a clunker. Like this team's winning by a ton, or like no one's doing anything and it's very boring." But it is a story. And so the way consume sports in our culture is that there's an announcer telling you the story while you're watching, giving you context, giving you updates, giving you like fun fact, his mom did so and so. I feel like it's even more so at the Olympics because I've written two sort of Olympic sports. I've written ice dance and I've written gymnastics, where you get sort of like the feel good fluff story before the athlete goes and competes, and then suddenly you're rooting for them.
Yeah.
I feel like in romance, it's even more heightened because everyone loves a good romance story. Like for Finding Her Edge, much of my inspiration, that initial sort of spark, was watching Bertrand Moyer at the 2018 Olympics in Pyeongchang. And I didn't know anything about, I'll be honest, I didn't know anything about ice dance. I really didn't. I knew that it existed. I knew it was kind of judged interestingly over the years.
Yeah.
And then after that Olympics, everyone was like, "Well, they're dating. They're dating." And they were just like, "No, no, 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 no. We're good actors. It's our job to make you think that." Like
Yeah.
and to make you feel something and draw your emotions into the sport. And that was very new for me as a writer because I tend to watch sports that are very very technical. Like no, there's no vibes in in baseball. There's no vibes
Yeah.
in tennis. Either the ball's in or the ball's out.
Yeah.
There's a ball or a strike or a home run.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, oh, that's fun and interesting. And I think that's a lot of it, where you have these stories that have inherent conflict. And then that conflict can sort of reflect the conflict in the romance. And I think it becomes a little bit like, oh, and at the same time, too, there's an element, I think, of wish fulfillment. What is everyone, it's so intertwined in the zeitgeist. Our sports culture, it's so intense that everyone at least has a frame of reference for it. Even if you don't understand it, even if you don't watch it, it's a big deal. Athletes tend to be attractive people. That always helps.
Mhm.
They do tend to make quite a bit of money. That always helps. So there's these other things that we see in celebrity romance, or in, not my favorite, but billionaire romance, or, we have this sort of like lifestyle that is very foreign and yet familiar at the same time, sort of something that you want to aspire to. And I feel like that really makes it very easy for people to sink their teeth into. For me, I just love sports. It's just like,
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
down. I'm down and ready for it, which is a problem because sometimes I read them and I'm like, where's the sports? I see a player on the cover. I don't see any
Yeah.
sports in the text.
Yeah.
So I was like, I guess I'm gonna have to write it. So I'm gonna do it. I'll do it myself.
Yeah, there you go. Resourceful.
I've been banging this drum for like a decade and a half. Like of
Fair.
like, come on, this is a thing. I promise you're gonna like it.
Yeah.
And finally, I mean, like there was readership. There was I'm not gonna pretend like sports romance has been a thing for a while, but finally it's sort of beyond that initial like, oh, if it happens to be your favorite subgenre, you read it. Now it's sort of out there in the whole world. And I'm so excited. Welcome everybody.
Yeah, welcome to the party. This is where it's at.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Well, I love that. And honestly, like, thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Of course.
Everybody needs to read Wildcard. It's coming out on June 9th.
Yes.
But yeah, no, honestly, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
I
And
really appreciate Thank you for having me. And I you can't really see, but it's not that hot. It's fine. I lit my Bridgerton candle for you. So I set the mood correctly for our
oh, thank you. I
podcast.
appreciate it. We're bonded now. I love
We
it.
are. We are.
I hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Jennifer as much as I did having it. Be sure to add Wildcard to your list of books to read this summer. It is going to be the perfect thing to read on the beach, on the plane, on the train, on vacation, or even just in your backyard. Honestly, it is one of my top books this year. I've loved it so much, so I know that you will too. Next time on the podcast, we will be breaking down the chapters 4 to 10 of When He Was Wicked, so stay tuned for that. And then shortly after, I will have another interview with a very special guest. And if you grew up in Canada and the US, you will probably recognize her. If you're a millennial, you will definitely recognize her. She was such a delight to speak with, and I will be announcing who that guest is very, very soon. So if you're not already, please go follow We Shall Talk .pod for all of the updates coming your way. And as always, thank you for tuning in.